everybody? It is Vishawn Jones, visionary of Fedora Outlier LLC. It's kind of amazing when I think about it, man, to be able to sit here in what I have labeled and built as Fedora's world headquarters, like this thing that I envision in my mind to be able to teach people all around the world from the comfort of my home. And I remember seeing that years ago when this guy was talking about making money from real estate in your underwear in the kitchen. And I said, man, that's a cool concept. I never subscribed to it because I knew he was doing him. I really wasn't into real estate, but it was just the fact that I could sit at the table and in my home and help people. And I knew it was true because I never really had a desktop computer, right? I always had a laptop. Why? Because that always kept me mobile. I could just whip it out and do my same thing that I would do tied to a desk, because I worked in corporate for years. And, I mean, you were literally tied to a desk, or, if you was an executive like, me, then you had an office, but you were still tied to the office. And you can only help the individuals at that particular time that was, in the office building, or, via the phone. But you were still like right there tied to it, the phone at your desk. That's the number that rung. Cell phones, all of that great stuff, and the internet, and a Bluetooth keyboard, man, has really changed the world. So I get to help this person create some art. This person is Leslie out of South Carolina. Super, super amazing person. And she has an interesting perspective on audio. And, when you find what your passion is and then locate the people that can help you fulfill it, you have no other choice but to bring it out into the world. I got a couple of EPs with my music, saxophone, books inside of me, just a bunch of stuff that, had I not been here dreaming, it would have not come to pass. So let me check the time.
August 7th, 8:58 a.m.
It is 8:58. I'm going to switch to
Menu bar, Apple.
screen.
Edit. Scene. Source. Check mark. Share screen command. S. Video file. Submenu. Share screen command. S.
We're going to
Audio performance
share
series
the
lip teaching session.
screen.
Insertion at beginning of text. Enter a title. Edit text. Share button. Turn off live 302 button. Camera button.
All right. And we're going to get ready to call Leslie on Skype. Do. I apologize. I'm drinking coffee. That's another thing that started us off. Every Monday, me and the team at Fedora would get together and have what we call coffee breaks. And they would be just that. We would sit back and dream over a cup of coffee, 7, 8, 10 of us at a time, just dreaming and making it happen. And it was pretty cool. I like to be on
Camera.
time.
August 7th, 8:59 a.m.
So we got 8:59.
Camera. Messages. Skype. One new item. Skype.
Go ahead and
Call. 50. End of a call from Fedora Outlier LLC at 10:55 a.m. Region.
get
Menu bar.
Leslie
Apple.
up.
Skype. File. Edit. View. Window. View. Edit. File. Skype.
Oh.
Skype. Menu. About Skype. About Skype. Today, a call from Fedora Outlier 8. Fifth call. 11 minutes 47 seconds. Group. End of a call from send messages via Skype. But open emoticon. Type a message more. Button. Evans. Button. Evans. Button. Leslie Brown. Profile. Last seen 19 hours ago. View profile. Button. Gallery. Button. Video call. Button. Audio call. Button. Press audio call. Free on Skype +1 864 978. Press call. Free on Skype. Open conversation. Button. Change speaker. Mute. Button.
There we go. I hate this new Skype, by the way. Just haven't gotten used to it.
Application. Call recorder not recording. Dialogue. Call recorder not recording. Call recorder. Don't warn me. Okay. Default. Button.
Hello.
Call
Hey,
Hello. There it goes.
Mute. Button.
how are you?
Mute.
I'm good. How are you?
I am great. I see you got the 9 a.m. on the hour bell chiming in the background.
Yes, I do. That's my Richmond mantle clock over there on top of the robot cabinet.
Okay, okay, got you. And when you say Richmond, is that like a maker of a clock or?
Um, that's the name of it. I don't really know who made this thing.
Okay, I thought it
It's
maybe it was from Richmond, Virginia. I'm from Virginia, so I just you know
oh,
helpful thinking. Cool. All right, so you named a type of audio that you want to create, and I can't think of the name of it. Every time I think I have it right, it's wrong. So, what do you call that audio again?
I call it dramatic audio. I think it's labeled that way.
Okay. Well, if it's not, it's your art, and you can label it whatever you want. And so, always when I'm explaining this to people, because I've literally, Leslie, been talking about you all week long, is you're telling this story in your own voice, using your voice as an instrument. It's like an audio book, but it's dramatized, if that's a word. And then you add the various sound effects that helps with the story and the story inflection. And so you might say, and the horses galloped to, the gate. And we might trigger a sound that is horses galloping, right? Is that kind of like, dramatic audio an example of that?
Yes.
There you go. Got you, got you. But instead of having to do that, with your hands and other instruments, and as you originally started, you had multiple recorders and players to be able to press the button and do this. We're going to do it all in one computer using various applications. And the first application we're going to start with is GarageBand. And so I'm
Okay.
gonna throw out terminology, and then I'm gonna explain it to you, and it's gonna be germane for any situation that you run into as far as audio is concerned. And what I mean by that is when I say DAW, DAW, that stands for Digital Audio Workstation. And so a DAW is GarageBand, Logic, Pro Tools, Reaper, Audacity. All of those are digital audio workstations, and they all do the same thing. Okay?
Okay.
They just do it in different ways. So, we're going to be learning on GarageBand for a bunch of different reasons. Number one, it's simple. Number two, it's accessible. Number three, it's generally the launch for anything else that you want to do in audio. So the first thing we have is the digital audio workstation. People will say, I use this or that. It's just their preference. Once you learn it here, you can take this anywhere. Okay?
Okay.
Make it in New York, you can make it anywhere.
Oh,
So yeah, we have that. Now, GarageBand is the DAW. So if you can open GarageBand if it's not already open, we'll get started.
minimize button. Full Leslie's project tracks. It's open. You are currently on a text element.
I hear it. All right, cool. So, what you want to do is close out of that window. If you do not know that key command, it's Command W.
Group. Choose default button.
All right, now
Button. To click.
I always tell it to shut up on your behalf. For those of you all that's listening, Leslie is the one that makes the comments when my voiceover starts talking in the middle of recordings, and she doesn't want to hear it. So I tell it to shut up, and I try to have it on mute, and it just keeps popping up. So this is the same person. All right. So with any Mac application, you have your normal open uh, dialogue for what you want to do with that particular application. So what just came up is the different options that you're able to choose from based on the type of audio you want to create.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so I always start from top and move to the bottom. And I will say at any point after I've explained something to you that you have a question, ask it then, um, and then we can address it as you have it. So if you can go to the very top of this box,
VO up arrow.
you can press VO function left arrow.
Open an existing project button. You are currently on a button. Details. Collapsed to create an empty project. A grid of selectable templates lists one item selected. Empty project, table, new project, row 1 of 4. Select choose a project. You are currently on a text
Do I need to
element.
keep going?
Well, not really. I'm sure you know. Well, yeah. Let's, for the sake of it, go to the very top.
Zoom button. Minimize button.
Oh.
Close.
Right.
Close.
All
Minimize.
right.
Zoom.
So
Project.
those buttons, are your typical close if you wanted to close it, zoom if you wanted to make it larger, and then there was one other button. What was that button?
Table. New choose a project. Zoom button. Minimize button.
Minimize, make smaller. All right. So this is
Zoom.
the choose a
You are
project
two.
dialog. Okay.
Okay.
So in here, we want to choose a new project, brand new, blank, new project. So VO right arrow.
Choose a project. You are currently on a text element.
All right, VO right arrow.
Table. New project. Row 1 of 4.
All right,
Selected.
so we already know that that's selected. There are other things in the table, but once you know how to navigate one, the rest are simple. And the other things in the table have to do with lessons and other stuff that you can do if it's musical. I don't believe there's anything related to the specifics on what you want to do. So it's selected. VO right arrow.
A grid of selectable templates lists one item selected. Empty project button. 1 of 8. 2 rows. 4 columns.
All right. So voiceover gave you a lot of information there. And so Leslie, are you the type of person that actually listens to your screen reader, or do you kind of run over top of it?
It depends. If I don't know what I am doing, like if it's new to me, I kind of pay more attention. But if it's like something that I've always done and I know where I'm going,
Go
I
through it.
go to what I need to go.
That
Or
makes
go to
sense.
what I need to go to.
Got you, because you know it, and that makes sense. Most people don't. So watch this. If you VO left arrow and then VO right arrow back and listen to all of the information it gives you, and you should get a better sense of what this particular area of the screen does. So,
Table. New project. A grid of selectable templates lists one item selected. Empty project button. 1 of 8. 2 rows. 4 columns. You are currently on a list.
Wow. Okay, so it's basically a place where I can select the template for the type of work that I'm going to be doing.
correct. And then it's one of 8. That means there's 8 other things in here that you could be doing. A lot of it is related to musical things. Um, and so if you're not doing music, then you don't have to worry about it. We will cover this when it's time for you to actually use the other templates, but these are just predefined, already ready to go. It's like microwavable food. You just got to microwave it. Okay.
Yeah.
Kind of how you would look at it. All right, so we're gonna stick with the new project, and we're gonna VO right arrow.
Create an empty project. You are currently on a text element.
All right, and that's just a text element, so you can keep going. VO right arrow.
Details. Collapsed disclosure triangle.
All right,
On a
so VO, go back to the details collapse.
Create an empty project. Details. Collapsed disclosure triangle. You are currently on a disclosure.
And so, do you know how to expand a triangle?
I don't think so.
All right, so interact with that.
Interact with the title of disclosure triangle. You are
I'm sorry.
disclosure.
Stop interacting.
Stop interacting with the title of disclosure triangle.
Press VO and the. Hold on, let me pull up my keyboard. Hold on.
Icon messages, contact, GarageBand. GarageBand, choose, default, button.
And I'm like you, man. Once you do something so many times,
Open
then
details, group.
Yes,
Details, expanded.
muscle memory, and you can't, like,
right,
do the word.
yeah.
Collapsing details.
All right, so I'm gonna get the name of this key. I know it's
Starting keyword help. Type
VO.
key, backslash. Toggle disclosure triangle. Open or
So
close.
when you're on the VO on the triangle, just press VO and the backslash, which is gonna be at the top, kind of almost at the top right hand key, right hand side of your keyboard.
Let's see.
And so let me do this.
Starting
How
keyword.
many is it,
Hold down
Yeah,
arrow
I'm
like,
key to stop
about to
typing.
up
tell
Pause over
you.
arrow.
near the
Shift key to
erase
stop left arrow key
key?
to stop out.
The
right.
backspace key?
Return. Backslash.
So I tell you what, you know where return is, correct?
Yes.
It's the very next key above return. So hold down VO and then press that key, which is the
Oh,
backslash.
Escape. Stopping keyboard help.
Expanding details.
There you
there
go.
we go.
So whenever you're on a triangle, remember that keystroke. I'm like I said, I'm just so used to doing it, I don't even know what the name of it was. All right, so what that is, if you picture like say a dresser, and you know how you open up drawers, you have multiple drawers on a dresser, and so you just expanded all the options to be able to look for your socks and your undergarments and your t-shirts and all that stuff. And that's kind of the way I picture that. If something else helps you to get that in your brain mentally as to, what that actually works like, then, so be it. All right, so this gives you the details of what's going to be in your session that you're creating. So, VO right arrow.
Details group.
All right,
You
and so that's a group, and
to
we know
interact
with the group we interact. So interact with that group.
in details group. 9 items. 120. Tempo slider.
All right, and
Oh
just
boy.
so yeah, don't. So just so we are at the beginning of everything that's in here, VO left arrow just to make sure.
120. Tempo slider.
VO left arrow.
120. Tempo slider.
Okay, I guess that is everything. So this is the tempo. Has everything to do with music and nothing to do with what you're recording, but we can change this later. So VO right arrow.
120. Content selected. Edit text.
All right, and if you were creating a song, you could change the tempo to 90, 150, 320, whatever you wanted to change it. Just an edit field. VO right arrow.
Tap tempo button. You are currently on a button.
All right, still dealing with the tempo. VO right arrow.
C. Key signature pop-up button.
All right, if that was music, you would be in the concert C. Has nothing to do with what you're doing. VO right arrow.
Major selected radio button. One of two.
Just saying it's major. The next one will be minor, like a C major scale,
Minor.
C minor scale. VO right arrow.
Time signature scrubber group. You are current.
VO right arrow.
System setting. Audio input pop-up button.
All right.
You are.
So once you get your audio equipment, this is where, if it isn't already set, then you would change your audio input. That means what microphone are you going to be using.
Mm-hmm.
And then the next one is your audio output, and that's where do you want the audio once it's played to be to come out of.
Yeah.
And that's important whenever you set this up, just to make sure that you're not recording and then by mistake you're using the microphone from the computer, the built-in microphone.
Yeah.
Your output is
One will catch all the ambience.
right. So those two things are very, very important to kind of check and make sure is working for every time that you create a new track. Now, the biggest thing with this, let's say your system audio, you already have it set up the way you like to listen to stuff. It has nothing to do with GarageBand, but when you're working in GarageBand, you may want the the microphone to be one type of microphone, and then you may want the output to go somewhere else. It's different from when you're just listening to your normal stuff. And so this is another way to be able to route the audio specifically for what you're doing in GarageBand.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
All right, cool. So VO right arrow.
System setting. Audio output pop-up button. You are currently on a pop-up.
Right. And that's a pop-up button. Both of them look the same, but so VO spacebar on that, and then down arrow.
Menu 2 items checkmark. System setting. You are currently on a menu item. Built-in output. You are currently on a menu item. Checkmark. System setting.
All right. And
You on a
so what that's saying, and both of them would say the same thing: input and output. System setting is whatever you have set in system preferences, sound. Just whatever you have set there. And then the other one is built-in output. That's your speakers that we're currently listening to on your computer.
Yes.
All right. Now, once you get what's called a audio interface or a sound card, then you would select that, which would be the Claret 2 Pre as your input and your output.
Okay.
All right. And you would find both of those right there. VO right arrow.
Uh-oh. Why are you quiet?
Checkmark. System setting.
Oh, I'm sorry. Just VO spacebar. You still had that open.
System setting checked. You are currently on a pop-up button inside.
Really?
Yeah, press escape.
What are you doing, GarageBand?
All right, so press the down arrow.
System setting. Audio output pop-up button.
All right, now VO right arrow.
System setting. Audio
VO
output
left
pop.
arrow.
System setting. Audio input pop-up
All
button.
right, so you're at the end of that. So that's it. So we interacted initially. So now we would stop interacting and then VO right arrow.
Out of details group. Open an existing project button.
All right, and VO right arrow.
Choose default button.
All right. So now we've set it up. We got our input, our output, everything's ready to go. So we would choose that. So VO spacebar.
Garageband busy. Untitled. Tracks window. Create. Default button. Create.
All right. Now we start from the top again. So VO right arrow until I tell you to stop.
Create. Default button.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to say VO right arrow. VO left arrow.
Cancel button.
Left
New track.
arrow.
Show details. Collapsed disclosure triangle.
Keep going.
Add a drummer that connect a guitar or record using the microphone. Plug in the USB MIDI keyboard to play. Plug in the USB MIDI keyboard to play and
All
record.
right. So
Like,
now you're creating it's asking you what type of track are you wanting? What type of audio are you working with? And so you have 4 options at the top. The first one is MIDI. That's kind of like your keyboard, your synthesizers, things of that nature.
Mm-hmm.
VO right arrow.
record using the microphone or line input or drag and drop audio files button.
All right. And so what we want to do, this is the one we want. So VO space bar on that.
Press record using the microphone or line input or drag and drop audio files button.
All right. So microphone is, you know, what it is, a microphone. So
Yeah.
we're going to be recording your voice through a microphone. VO right arrow.
Connect a guitar or bass to your Mac to play and record
we
through
don't
virtual
want
amps
that.
and pedal.
We don't want a bass. And what's the other
Or
one?
add a drummer that automatically plays along with your song
And
button.
then we don't want a
You are
drummer.
current.
So now we go to create. So we're going to create this track. Well, no. I'm sorry.
Details. Expanded disclosure triangle.
All right.
You are
So
You are currently on a
stop. I gave you one too many instructions too early. So there is a detail area that we can interact with. So VO left arrow. Let me hear what it says.
show details. Expanded disclosure triangle.
All right, and so that is already expanded, and so you don't have to VO slash. So VO right arrow.
Details group.
All right, let's interact with that.
To interact with items in this group, in details group. 6 items. Input 1. Input pop-up button.
All right. So on your claret to pre, and what that pre means is preamp, the preamplification of your microphone before it hits your DAW. Okay?
Mhm.
So you have two inputs on it, and the first one is where you're going to want your microphone to go all the time. One, if you're using Skype and using a microphone, Skype is only going to see the first preamp. Number two, it's the first one you come across. Number two, you're number one, so why not plug in the number one? Nevertheless, that's why it has that number one there. Now, let's say you created two tracks, and you have you and a guest. Then, of course, they would be number two, and you would be number one. Okay?
Okay.
All right. And I need to make sure that is why that number one was there, because it could be the number of tracks. So VO left arrow for me.
Input 1. Input
All
pop-up
right.
button.
So yeah, that was the input. So input is always a microphone or something you're inputting, guitar, anything like that. So it's going in number one, like I said. There you go. VO right arrow.
I want to hear my instrument as I play and record. Unchecked checkbox.
All
You
right.
are
This is something that is personal preference, and you don't necessarily have to engage it here. But what that means is it's called monitoring. That means I want to hear what the person is hearing as they're hearing it. So if you wanted to test your voice, you wanted to test, um, the other guest voice or audio file that you're playing, and know what the individual, you know, besides yourself would be hearing,
Mhm.
then we would want to check that for monitoring. You know your voice, you know your inflections, not necessarily needed to be checked here, but that's what that does.
Okay.
VO right arrow.
My instrument is connected with built-in microphone. You are currently on a text element inside.
All right. And that's cool. That's basically when you get your claret, it will say it's connected through, and then it'll say claret, to pre.
Mhm.
Um, so VO right arrow.
Open preferences button. You are currently on a button inside of a group. To click this button, press Control Option Space. To exit this group, press Control Option Shift up arrow.
All right, and we know that in order to open preferences on any app on the Mac, you can just press Command comma. So if you don't need to be in preferences now, then you can skip past it.
I hear sound from built-in output. You are current.
And this is pretty much the same thing. I hear sound from, and then it's coming out of your built-in output. You would change this to the claret pre as well, once it's there. And these will actually already be set. You're just kind of checking them because remember, we already set them when we created the new project in the beginning, okay?
Oh, okay. Whew.
VO
I
right
was
there.
like,
I
this
know.
is a lot of stuff.
No, it's you'll be flying through it like you said once you know it, and it's not hard at all. VO right arrow.
Open preferences button.
VO
You
right
are
arrow.
in open preferences button.
All right, now stop interacting.
Out of details group.
VO right arrow.
New track help button.
VO
You are
right arrow.
Cancel button.
VO
You
right
are
arrow.
create default button.
All right, VO space bar.
Library browser.
All right,
Currently on a browser inside.
let's stick a pin in that. Hold on 1 second for me. All right, so at this very moment, what questions would you have?
Oh my. Well, uh, I don't think I have any right now. It's just a lot of information.
Yep. And that's why we record it so you can play it back. Those aha moments and repetition will get you up to speed. Pretty soon, like next week, you'll be flying through this because you'll know it. So
Yeah.
there you go. All right, so we basically have a track like ready to go. If you had your microphone and everything, we could test levels, press record, and we're off to the races. I'm gonna give you more of the interface, and then we're gonna remove it because it's not gonna really be useful for you for your initial recordings. But VO left arrow,
Search sounds. Search text field.
VO
Blank.
left arrow one more
Search
time,
splitter. You are currently on a horizontal splitter
VO
inside of
left arrow.
horizontal splitter.
All right. So you have search sounds. Let's say you wanted to add an effect to your voice. Effects are anything that will alter the sound of the incoming, the dry signal. You hear dry and wet. Dry is my normal voice. Wet is with reverb or echo or delay or any of that. And if you wanted to search for those particular sounds or effects that you wanted to add to your voice, you would do it here versus drilling down into the menus. More on that in a future lesson. VO right arrow.
Search sounds. Search text field. Blank. Library. Browser.
All right. And so you're searching the library of sounds. And of course, you would, just like in the Finder, interact with that, find the sound that you want, add it to your voice, tweak it, do whatever you want to do. So VO right arrow,
Delete. Dimmed button.
VO right
Delete button.
arrow.
Selected save button.
All right, and we
Save.
don't need to save that because you actually would be saying, "Hey, this is something that I like. Let me save it for, easier retrieval, so I don't have to go back and search for it." But
Yeah.
that's definitely in the post production after you finish. But you haven't. It's like, have you ever sewn before? Like, did needle threading, made a shirt or something?
Nope. I have not.
All right. Well, let me give you the analogy anyway. So you already have the pattern for the shirt. You already got the sleeves and everything laid out. You just haven't put it all together. And this is where you would, say, "Hey, here I want my voice to sound real deep and groggily," and then I would look for an effect, in this library that will give me that or give you that effect. Okay.
Yeah.
Got you. VO right arrow.
Save
I'm,
button.
I'm sorry. Stop interacting and then VO right arrow.
Out of library group. Tracks.
All right.
You are on a
So this is your workspace. In actuality, once you finish with selecting, creating the track, which is where we selected at the top left, audio or microphone, went down to create, and then it created this track, which is going to be a audio track. Now here, you have multiple interactions. It's like that dresser drawer again, or dresser with multiple drawers, and you have to, go to the drawer that you actually want to get the stuff from. In this case, interact with the dresser, if you can understand that analogy.
in tracks group. 5 items. 10.3%. Zoom slider.
Oh, neat.
All right, and so it says it's 5 items, 5 dresser drawers. Now I'm gonna teetotally skip over all except for the one that you need right now. So VO right arrow one time.
Tracks legend group.
All right, we're gonna
You on
skip over that, and VO
Tracks.
right arrow. That
You are
says your time ruler. We don't need that right now. VO right arrow.
tracks header group.
All
You
right,
are
that's the one we want.
items in this.
Tracks header. Most important, um, most used item when recording is going to be your tracks header. Okay, so
Okay.
interact with that dresser drawer. It's like the fourth one down.
Audio 1 group.
All right, so audio one is just the name of that track. So you only have one track. It's audio one, which means it would have been coming from your first channel of your preamp where your microphone is connected, and you can actually rename that. You can name that lead vocal, and you will know in your mix that number one is my lead vocal. Number two may be sound effects. Your second track may be sound effects. Um, and that's where you get what's called mixing. You're taking track one and you're mixing it with track two, blending it together to make it sound good. Or if it was food, blending it together to make it taste good.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And so before, when you were saying you had multiple recorders around you, this having multiple tracks is going to take the place of those multiple recorders.
Okay.
And it's going to make your
Second
job
Windows new window.
a heck of a lot easier. All right. So now that you're in the track header, interact.
In track 1, audio 1, group. 6 items, audio 1, text.
All right. And so there's where you would change the name if you wanted to lead vocal or, whatever you wanted to change it to. VO right arrow.
Mute, uncheck, checkbox.
All right. And
Button,
so mute
track, no.
mute does exactly what you think it does. It mutes that particular track. It's still, if you were playing it, it's still playing, but it's muted. So if you had, say, three tracks, right? And you had track
Yeah.
one, you, track two, the horses, track three, the cars, and you wanted to mute you would just press that VO space bar and it'll say mute. VO right arrow.
Solo, unchecked, checkbox.
All right. Do you know what solo means?
Well, only one instrument or voice or whatever is is allowed to play.
Right.
Skype. One new white Garageband.
Okay.
Right. And so you got multiple things and you just want to hear this. You want to make sure in the mix that this sounds good in the way you wanted it, nice and crisp. So you would just solo that out and keep it pushing. VO right arrow.
Input monitoring, unchecked, checkbox.
All right. So I told you in the beginning about input monitoring when I was telling you about whether you wanted to hear yourself or not. And so if you did want to hear what's going on with this track in real time, um, especially with your Clarion, it'll have latency free monitoring, which means there's no delay from what you said and what you are hearing, and you're hearing it exactly as it's being recorded.
Cool. Okay.
And so you often hear people in the sense of a podcast interview, you want to hear the guest and how they're going to sound in the microphone. Then you would be able to check that and monitor them and potentially, just turn it off because now their levels, if you will, are up to par. Does that make
Yeah.
sense?
Mm-hmm.
All right. VO right arrow.
Plus 0.0 dB, volume slider.
Decibel.
So your volume, for the most part, should always be at 0 dB. And so if you picture a timeline, and negative is to the left, positive is to the right, and at any point you should always have this at 0, which is unity, which is exactly where it needs to be. You should never really have to change that. Only in rare circumstances will you, and you'll know because something is definitely super low, and it's probably the only thing that you can do to get it up to par.
Yeah.
dB is decibels. Um, don't get me to lying about decibels. It's just basically your loudness in, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, increments, by one. So That's how you measure loudness. VO right arrow.
0 pan. Circular slider.
All
Pan slider.
right. Do you know what pan is?
Yeah, pan is fun.
All right. Got you. So how much
Um,
do you know about this audio stuff now? Don't be making me bore you to death, and you already know all this stuff now.
well, I've never actually used it, but I know what it means, and it's something that I want to learn how to do. Like, um, you
August 7th,
can
9:36 a.m.
um send your sound
August 7th, 9:36 a.m.
around you or something, like from one side to the other,
Right.
or in a circle, or
Mm-hmm.
behind and in front, and that kind of thing.
Right. And so I usually use it like in an interview. Me and you're on the phone in South Carolina. I'm on the phone in Georgia, and I want to make it appear as if we're in the same room. So I may pan me to the left a little bit, and I'll pan you to the right a little bit, and that gives the spatial, or as you call it, sound design effect as if we're in the same room, just kind of sitting across from each other.
Yeah,
And you can
that's
kind
cool.
of bleed that in. So you don't want me to be all the way to the left and you all the way to the right, where I'm coming out the left ear, you're coming out the right ear. You kind of want it, mixed together. But however you do that, you want the horses galloping from the left side coming on in, you would pan to the left that particular track. So that's what that means. Glad you got it. VO right arrow.
0 pan.
All
Circular
right,
slider.
and that's it for that particular track. Now you have the same settings in every track you create. For example, your second track may have, you know, the recording that you want for, um, the horses. I keep using that galloping thing, and you want the horses to gallop from the left and kind of smoothly come into the forefront. Well, that's where you use that pan knob. But every track will have those same settings: the mute, the solo, um, and that. Yeah. Cool. All right. So that's on a per track basis. I'm gonna give you one more section, and then we're gonna record something, and then I'll open it up for questions. So we want to stop interacting, stop interacting, stop interacting like 3 times.
Out of track 1. Out of tracks header group. Out of tracks group.
All right. And so you see how we just came out of the dresser and over to the left.
Phew.
You have to go over to the left, VO left arrow.
Library group. You are currently
Keep
on a
going.
group. To control bar toolbar. You are
Keep
untitled tracks.
Keep going.
Full screen button. Minimize button. Close
All
button.
right. So we got those proverbial close, minimize, maximize, VO right arrow.
Minimize but full screen. Untitled tracks.
All right, stop. All right,
Text.
so of course we haven't named it, so it's untitled, and we'll get to that. VO right arrow.
Control bar toolbar.
All right, so this is the toolbar that we need to interact with. It's called the control bar toolbar, meaning it has controls in a bar format, and it's a toolbar. So we want to interact with the control bar toolbar.
In control bar toolbar. 18 items. Library. Checked. Checkbox.
All right. So remember that library that I told you about?
I think so.
Oh my God! Remember the library of sounds? It had search, and then it had the.
Yes, yes, yes.
All right. So we don't want that to show up on the screen because we don't really need it. So here in the toolbar, we want to uncheck it. So uncheck that.
Uncheck library. Checkbox.
All right. And so anytime that we need it, we just come check it. There you go. So this will simplify the screen moving forward. VO right arrow.
Quick help button. Show or hide quick help.
Do
When
not check this ever. It's gonna be, and I don't even cuss like for real, but it's gonna be hell. You're gonna need sighted help because it goes crazy. VO right arrow.
Smart controls. Checked. Checkbox. Smart controls for audio 1B. You are currently on a checkbox inside of a bar to select or deselect.
All right. Smart controls are gonna come in handy in post production. There are things like if you had plugins for channel strips or compression or EQ or gating or effects, things of that nature, you're going to find some of that in your smart controls area, um, which is past the tracks area. And we will get to that in a future lesson. So VO right arrow.
Editors, unchecked checkbox.
All right.
Editors, you are currently on a checkbox.
No editors right now because we're not editing anything. So when we do, this will be up and it'll give us the ability to um, make edits.
Okay.
VO right arrow.
Rewind button. Rewind button. Move the playhead back 1 bar. You are.
Are you familiar with what's called transport buttons?
No.
All right. Musical audio term. Transport buttons are your rewind, fast forward, play, all of those buttons. So record.
Oh,
So they're
duh.
just referred to as transport buttons. VO right arrow.
Forward button. Forward button. Move the playhead forward 1 bar. You are currently on a
VO
button.
right arrow.
Up button. Stop button. Stop playback or recording. Click when stop to move the playhead to the project start point or to the left locator shown in the ruler when in cycle mode. You are currently on a button.
VO right arrow.
Play. Unchecked checkbox.
VO
Play.
right arrow.
Start record. Unchecked checkbox. Record button. Record to the selected track.
VO right arrow.
Unchecked checkbox.
What?
Record. Cycle. Unchecked checkbox.
What is
Cycle
that?
Turn cycle mode on or off.
All right. So cycle is kind of like running in a loop over and over and over and over again.
Oh, okay.
So if you wanted something to cycle like audio file that you placed in, the horse galloping is a good idea. And you can tell it how many cycles of that you want to have it to run through.
Okay.
VO right arrow.
Control bar group.
All
You are
right. So this is another control bar. It's a group that we can interact with. So if you can interact with that.
in control bar group. 5 items. 1 bar 1 beat. Playhead position. Scrubber group.
All right. So this is the playhead. It's at 1 bar, which means it's at the beginning. 1 beat, which is the very first beat. And so this is just where the playhead is. Of course, we haven't played anything, so it's at the very beginning. VO right arrow.
120. Tempo slider.
All right. That's that tempo again that we originally seen in the beginning. And we could change that VO right arrow.
4/4. Time signature pop-up button.
All right. The time signature, if you was playing music, it would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4. That's the time signature, and we're not playing music, so don't worry about it. Keep going.
Beats and project. Display mode pop-up button.
Now, here's where we can change that. And we can change it to like time, which means if you're recording for 3 minutes, 5 seconds, it would say that versus, 1 bar, 1 beat, 1 measure. So, VO spacebar on that.
Menu 4 items checkmark. Beats and project.
And we can down arrow.
Beats and time. You are
Down
currently on item. Beats. You are currently on
arrow.
time.
All
You
right.
are
And so we can just VO spacebar on that and make that time, and that way it's 3 minutes, 5 seconds, 15 milliseconds.
Yeah, rather than
Yeah, 1 bar, 1 beat, 1
90
measure.
billion beats.
So did you VO space?
mode pop-up button.
All right, there you go. And now VO right arrow.
Time. Display mode pop-up button.
All right, and so we know that time is there. We also know that we're at the end. So you can stop interacting once and then VO right arrow.
Out of control bar group tuner. Unchecked checkbox.
All right, and so if you were tuning the instrument, you would check that, play the note. It would tell you what the note is and whether you're sharp or flat. Don't need it. We're not playing music. VO right arrow.
Count in. Checked checkbox.
All right, we definitely want count in. You also hear that referred to as punch in. And so basically what that means is you'll hear a tick, and then you start talking. So you got, 4 beats before you have to start talking. It's like getting ready to, record. And that's why you hear people say, and we're on in 3, 2, 1. They're actually listening or watching that tick countdown. Okay.
Okay.
Cool. VO right arrow.
Click. Checked. Checkbox.
All right. We want to uncheck that.
Mix click. Checkbox.
All right. And the reason why we want what happens is you got what's called a click track. And if we were to start recording in the background, we would continue to hear.
Oh boy.
And so we want to turn that off always. I'm going to give you your first key command to turn that off up front without having to go all the way up here and move around and all that is the letter K as in kite. Um, so like now, if you press K, now VO left arrow and then VO right arrow.
Plus 0.0 dB. Master volume slider. Click. Checked. Checkbox.
All right, and see how that
Here,
became.
click project tempo during playback or recording.
Yes.
All
You
right,
are currently
and
on
so
check.
you can turn it off now again by just pressing K again.
Press Control Option Space to exit this group. Press Control Option Shift up arrow.
Okay.
Plus 0. Click. Mixed checkbox. Metronome button. Here, click at the tempo during playback.
So that's how you can quickly turn that off, and you'll have to do that. Unfortunately, with GarageBand, every time you open it up. So just remember K. That'll get that annoying initial or after metronome click out of there. VO right arrow.
Plus 0.0 dB. Master volume slider.
All right, that's your master volume. That's like, hey, I got 2 tracks. And I got them all balanced in the way I want it, but now I need to turn both of them up at the same time. And that's where you could do that at. Leave it at 0, because the most important thing is recording it right the first time. But
Yeah.
if you needed some wiggle room, some more extra dB, you can change the master track and turn it up some. So VO right arrow.
Notepad. Unchecked checkbox.
All right, you can have a notepad for typing notes. If you were a musician, you might say, "Hey, this is a C major dominant 7 scale. This is whatever. You can, write, the words to the song. You can do whatever. It's just a notepad, and it's, a place where you can type in information that you need to keep up with based on the project that you're working on. VO right arrow.
Apple Loops. Unchecked checkbox.
That's your loops. Apple Loops is just things that you could listen to and play over and over again. It's different from Cycle. Cycle is generally the information that you give it. Apple Loops are something that Apple created that are made to loop, over and over again, and you can get the Apple Loop selection displayed by checking that box. VO right arrow.
Media browser. Unchecked checkbox.
Media browsers, the things that you have on your computer that you might want to add to it. It may be a video. If you need audio that you created or have saved on the computer, that's where you would open up the media browser and bring the items that you need in without having to go to the Finder and all that stuff.
Okay.
All right, VO right arrow.
Media browser. Unchecked checkbox.
All right, and that is it.
Okay.
All right, you ready to record?
Whew. I think so.
All right, so I'm gonna give you 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 keystrokes. Most important keystrokes ever.
Oh dear.
All right, recording is the letter R. You press R, you're gonna hear tick, 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 tick. You start recording. You want to stop it, press space bar. So you record it, tick, 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 tick. Hey, my name is Leslie. I love all of you guys. Bye. And you press space bar, boom, it stops recording. Now, you want to rewind. Remember the old typewriter back in the day? You have to slide it to the to the left side to start typing on the next line.
Yes.
All right, you just press return. That's that same slide to the left type thing, like in the dance. So now sliding to the left takes you back to the beginning. Now, if spacebar was stop, what do you think play is if it was a keystroke?
A toggle, probably.
So if spacebar was stop, what do you think play is?
P.
Nope. Spacebar, stop it. Spacebar,
Spacebar
play
started.
it. Yep.
Oh,
In most audio applications, that is what it is. All right. You want to fast forward and rewind. Let me pull this up because I just do it. I don't think about it. Let me see. Hold on one
Starting
second.
keyboard help. Type key period. Comma.
All right. You got comma for rewind. Just, you want to go back. What did Vishawn just say right there? You just press comma. And then you want to move forward. You press
period.
period. Okay?
I remember that
Starting
from
keyboard help.
Windows Media Player back in the day.
There you go. Comma, go back, period, move forward. The more times you press it, the further up you go. Return is rewind. What is the keystroke for record?
R.
All right. So, before we record, the most exciting part is track one, your vocals. Everything is all set up. It's ready for you. Um, when you get your microphone, you just have to, before you do the production, if you're just playing around and testing, then you just do that. But, um, before you record anything that you don't want to keep doing over and over, you're ready for the real performance. Always, check your microphone, monitor it, make sure that it sounds good, make sure you're positioned well. Um, you're not slouching. You want the best vocal that you can get because the joy is or the second joy is in the editing. But if you record something great wrong and you don't want to do it over, then editing it to get it right is a pain in the butt. And if you think just this little bit right here was a lot to know and learn, editing is like a whole beast, a whole different beast.
Oh.
Cool. All right. So we're going to use the internal mic, so it's going to sound crappy. But hopefully by next week's lesson, we'll be using much better equipment, and you can definitely tell the difference. So press that letter R, listen for those ticks, make a recording, press the space bar, then press return, and press the space bar again in that order.
Oh boy. Hello, this is Leslie Brown. What's up? This is my first recording ever. I'm very nervous. Bye-bye.
15 seconds, 2 frames, 64 subframes.
Okay. I think you said return. And then space again. Let's see what happens. I hope I didn't forget nothing. Hello, this is Leslie Brown. What's up? This is my first recording ever. I'm very nervous. Bye-bye. Yay!
And so that is that. Now, the better microphone you got, the better preamps you got, the more clarity, the more air, the more fullness we will capture your voice. Then the rest would be in EQ, compression, adding a gate if needed, de-essing. De-essing is when you say those sibilants like S, Cincinnati, things like that you want to take out. Some people say they hate their voice.
Yeah, because sometimes S's can be really sharp.
Right. And so in post production, you can edit those out. Or if we can identify what frequency your S's are coming in at, then we can
Subframes.
we can automatically, just have those not appear in the recording. So that's that. Now saving, and by default, this is gonna go to your music folder slash GarageBand, and it'll just sit there. So you would save just like anything else with a Command S. If you can go ahead.
Save. Save. Save as. Tags.
All
Where?
right, and then the save as, just put test one. Do this test underscore one. Always with audio files. Um, do first, do the word, then put underscores in between words and numbers is what I'm trying to say.
Selection replaced. T. E. S. T.
Where is that little?
It is. I use bring up keyboard help because I'm so
Starting
used to
keyboard tab.
punching
Type keys
it.
to hear their names. Hold on the
It
voiceover keys while typing to hear voiceover command.
is
Delete. Shift. Underscore.
two keys
Shift.
to or three keys in from the right. So it's like delete,
Equal. Hyphen.
and then
Shift.
press shift and the third key in from the right.
Escape. Stopping keyboard.
At the top left?
I'm sorry,
I
the
mean,
top
the
right.
top
Yeah.
right?
Uh huh.
Test one. Right. Here, 1111.
1. Test 1.
All right. And then you can VO right arrow all the way down to save.
Is it supposed to say the underscore?
Well, probably depends on how you got your verbosity settings. So move character by character, like press the left arrow key without VO.
I'm sorry.
1.
I just.
T.
Yeah, you didn't.
T.
You actually didn't put
1.
it.
It didn't.
1.
Why didn't it put it?
1.
So shift and then that key.
Hang on.
Okay. So just practice the underscore, but I mean you don't just that was just a word of caution. Whenever you are working with files like this, put underscores in between the words, and the reason being is like if you send this off to somebody to produce, and usually
Mail.
when you save something,
Assisted living application.
Hush.
generally when you save something and you give it a title, and that title has more than one word, it has a meaning to it, and they want to be able to capture that. They don't want to, have one long phrase like it's a sentence. All right, so VO right arrow.
That is weird. Okay.
T. Tags.
Um,
Tags. Tag editor. Edit text. GarageBand has
Tag.
Where? You are currently on a text element.
August 7th, 9:58 a.m.
VO right arrow.
GarageBand. Where? Pop-up button.
And it's telling you it's going to the GarageBand folder. VO right arrow.
Garage cancel button. You are currently on a button. To
Keep
save
going.
button. You are currently on a
Save
button.
it.
To click this button, press Control Option Space. Now in test tracks window, media browser, unchecked checkbox.
All right. And so you're back where you left off. You have the file recorded. You have it saved. You set up a new track. You understood what the new project template does. You've removed and you know how to remove the library until used. You have a recording of the track's header with the various mute, solo, decibel, and pan buttons. You understand, or at least we went over the control bar toolbar. At this point, with what you know and what you have access to, you will be able to start recording. It's
Okay.
really as simple as that. So our time is up, but we are friends. So if you need to reach me. Ask a coach is always there inside of your audio performance series. Give me an hour. I'll send you a MP3 of this, or you can always watch yourself on YouTube. You've been a great student, good friend of the firm. I really appreciate all that you do, and that's from the bottom of my heart. Thank you for believing in yourself. And we're gonna create this art and present it to the world. So I'm super excited. Leslie, you have a good one. Reach out if you need me, and I'll see you next week, same time.
All right.
And there's the alarm. We're so cool. All right, you have a great one.
Thank you. You
Skype.
too.
New item. Skype. Skype. Window. Mute button. Mute. Menu bar. Apple. Skype. 5. Edit. View. Window. Tools. Window. View. Edit. Mute button.
This new Skype
Mute.
doesn't let you hang up the way you used to.
Uh-oh.
End video. End share screen. Button.
Oh,
End
there
call.
you
Button.
go. Bye bye.
End call.
Bye.
Press end call. Button. Skype.
All right, you guys just heard it. Yeah, man, that's how it's done. That's how it's done, and that's world changing for me. So listen,
Garageband. Ecom live.
let's change the
Share
world.
screen. Button. Video font. 3 thumbs up. I. Image. Show slash hide sound levels. Button.
Thanks for that 3 thumbs up. Hey, man, that's awesome. And
Overlays. Button. Show comments. Finish. Button. Show comments window.
let
Button.
me check this. Hold on. Let me see. Let me see what's up.
Finish. Button. Finish. Finish. Click to view. Lumiere Darlin. Highlight image. Lumiere Darlin. Highlight and Bosch 1. Good luck with your training session.
Hey, man, I appreciate that. This technology right here.
Button. Add overlays. Button. Show slash hide sound. I. Image. Show slash add over. Button. Image. Lumiere. Click to finish. Finish. Button.
Man, that's crazy. All right, man. Let's